Okay, at this time, it's 6:30. I'd like to open up the Administrative Services Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. Please call the roll.
Counselor Corradino.
Here.
Counselor DeMasi. Here. Counselor Hill.
Here.
Counselor Tesserario. Here. Counselor Wilmot.
Here. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the January 2nd, 2018 committee meeting.
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMasi.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesserario.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Is there any old business at this time to discuss in this committee? Seeing none, moving right on to new business. Under authorization, item number 1, Caroline Anderson, Animal Control Officer, requests permission for Mayor Barlow to enter into a contract between the City of Oswego and the Town of Hannibal for dog sheltering services at the Oswego Animal Shelter. Stephen?
First off, I apologize that I did not include our fee schedule. There's so many new counselors, I should have included that, so I'll go over that briefly. I was approached by the Town of Hannibal Dog Control Officer, asked if they could have a contract with us. They currently do not have a place to house their dogs. They were housing at the Dog Control Officer's home in the Scriba, I believe it was, but the state deemed the facilities unfit. So this would be the 10th town that we house dogs for. So we currently house for 11 municipalities. It would be 11 municipalities. It's 10 total. And the town of Hannibal, they get about 30 dogs a year, so it wouldn't be much for us either way, but it would help them out a lot if we could do that. The current fee schedule, which is the same for every single town, we charge $15 per day for board for the dogs up to a total of 5 days. And then we do charge for vaccines and the vet check and things like that, so for a total of $150. So if the dog ends up staying with us for a full 5 days, we charge the town of Hannibal $150 for that dog. If the dog goes home sooner, it's prorated based by the day. So if the dog is there for 3 days, we charge the town of Hannibal $45, etc. So they only pay the full amount if the dog stays for the full 5 days, but that does help us recoup quite a bit of our veterinary costs and things like that. So.
Any questions, Caroline? Is there one quick question? So you don't see any issues as far as taking on approximately 30 dogs a year? Do you need any additional staff? Or?
I don't expect that it'll be much. It can fluctuate that much for any of the towns or the city, for that matter. We could easily pick up an extra 20, 30 dogs in a year, so we shouldn't notice a huge difference in anything.
Other questions, comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMasi.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesserario.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 2, Thomas Charles, DPW Commissioner, requests approval to charge a per-hour fee for use of Brightbeck Park, non-pavilion area, for weddings. Mr. Charles, would you like to add anything to this? Would you please? I'll rephrase that. Would you please?
Councilors, we get a lot of requests for people to use that. What this would do is establish they have it during that time. We've run into the conflicts where other events or somebody else wanting to get married there just goes down there and shows up. This would guarantee that person in front of the bell or wherever they pick for that time slot.
Okay, are there any questions? Yes.
Well, right now they call and schedule, right? Their appointments, give their name, and so on.
Yep.
So either way, they would end up being, having it guaranteed. What happens in the cases that you have 2 different parties show up?
Well, based on the fee structure, what that does, you don't have somebody just monopolize on the park the whole day or that area the whole day.
Because nobody knows who's going.
They could go at 9 o'clock in the morning and set up their chairs, even though they had a 4 o'clock wedding, capitalize on the whole day. 3 other people planned on going there and having theirs, and can't.
Right. My only thing about it is I hate to see the parks for something like that charging somebody. But okay.
Is there any additional work that the city has to do when somebody uses Brightbeck for a wedding?
If we know there's an event, we try to make sure that that area is cleaned and mowed and so on. So maybe a little extra attention, not a lot.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council? Yes, Councilor.
Counselor, that's up to you guys. I'd like to see it, but that's great recommendation.
Certainly something for discussion. I mean, we could pass this tonight and then at a later date modify the fee structure. Or we can table this and do it at another time. I think in the interest of time that we approve this, that would be my recommendation, and then we can visit what you're talking about later on. Any other comments? Yes. Unless you want to modify it right here on the floor. I think so too. That's why I'm saying, well, your options at this point are we could table it and not do anything with it, or approve it and then modify it later. Is that okay? We approve it? Okay. All right. Any other comments or concerns? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
No.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesoriero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Item number 3, the engineering department requests mayor be authorized to accept the engineering design services proposal for CH2M for Eastside Wastewater Treatment Plant Asset Management Plan improvements. And I think I see some of you in that room that might want to speak to this.
Actually, you were the only one here during that whole process of the asset management program.
Correct.
So, we've gone through quite a process. It was part of the consent order from the DEC to do an asset management program at the Eastside Wastewater Treatment Facility. Out of that, we came up with a capital plan over the next 5 to 10 years. This is the first phase of that plan. It takes care of some critical items, including SCADA, which we'll talk about a little more in detail with the next item coming up, our motor control units, and our heating and ventilation system at the wastewater treatment facility, East Side. So the East Side has 1968 motor controls, which we hope to find parts on eBay. Mostly successful, but not always. Has a SCADA system that is now at the end of its useful life, and has a heating and ventilation system that is pretty much non-existent. We did have some freezing pipes here during that cold spell, and we were able to get some portable units to heat it back up. But these are items that are must-needs and are well past their useful life. So that is what this is all about. And it will turn into a capital project. This is also part of the $1.5 million grant that we received. And we also did receive a hardship 0% loan, if we so choose, for the remainder of the dollars to be spent on this project.
Thank you. Any questions, Ken? Yes.
I'm looking at the agreement in 3 divisions, subcontract and direct expenses. I understand where this can lead into cost overruns. The experience with CH1 because it states that markup of 5% will be applied to direct expenses for purposes of the agreement. Direct expenses are defined to include those necessary costs and charges incurred for the project, including but not limited to direct costs of transportation and such. I know this is standard boilerplate, but how much was the base of?
On this particular project, there will be sub out for the SCADA system, which will come next, and that's because we want it subbed out. They don't sub out. I mean, the projects that we've worked on them with, they've not subbed anything out.
So if they decide some phase that they either don't want to do or do, could end up with 5% cost.
Yes. And there will be subs on this because this is an EFC grant. We got $1.5 million. There is a WMBE provision, so they have to sub 30% of this job out. Have
Now,
to.
is that included in this contract, or is that part of
That-
adoption?
The- Yeah, they provided us a price with their MWBEs already in. Yep.
Any
Oh,
other-
I'm sorry. Do I need to define MWBE? Minority and Women Business Enterprises?
You're adding that? Any other comments or questions? I see a question from the public.
Chair, why are we actually looking for
Be-
policy?
That's what we're doing right now.
Replacing or repairing?
No, replacing. That's what this project is, full replacement. Yep.
Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns, issues? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Counselor Hill?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Testerero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Item number 4, the engineering department requests the mayor be authorized to accept the engineering design services proposal with GHD for the East Side wastewater treatment plant asset management plan improvements. And would you like to add something to this one also?
Sure. This one, we go more in depth. This is all SCADA. So this is system control and data acquisition. This is how we control the facilities, how we see what's going on and how we control it. These, again, are part of that whole asset management program, part of the grants and the potential for the 0% interest financing on the remainder of the project. Necessary because on a daily basis, our PLCs go down. 2 years ago, it was once a week. A year ago, it was 3 times a week. Today, it's probably 3 times a day that we lose our computerization to the facility, and we have to reset it. So this is something that really has got to be done and done very quickly, so we don't lose everything at the facilities. The prices that you see there include design and integration with components in it. GHD, last year we approved GHD to be our sole source integrator. Rationale for that is that when I first got there, I would say, well, who programmed this, and who provided this, and who provided that, and I would get 15 different answers. So I never knew who to call to make sure that everything was working correctly. We want one point source, one firm to say, fix this. Make it work right, and if it's not working right, get in here, not have to chase 15 different people to make it happen.
Any comments, questions? I know that the council here, every member here took a tour of your facility on the west side, and we can all agree that it needs upgrading and updating. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I have a motion. Counselor Massey?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Testerero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 5, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requests authorization for the city chamberlain to complete a budget amendment in the amount of $60,000 to be made to A.9906.0460, transfer to CDA for the zoning code update. And Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Chairman. This is looking for a budget amendment for $60,000 to continue with our comprehensive rewrite of the entire city zoning code. Last year, we started working with, and Tim is here tonight. He is the person actually physically rewriting our zoning code. So we started this process last year. Quite frankly, it's taken a bit longer than we anticipated or would have thought, and it's much more complicated, and we're going much more in depth than even I think we initially thought. Part of that timeline, I appointed a group of Councilor Van Buren at that time, also the chair of the planning board, zoning board, Jim Bell, city attorney. I appointed Paul Stewart from the ORA, appointed a small committee to help walk us through this zoning code, and I would say the first probably 2 or 3 months we spent a considerable amount of time just discussing all of the different issues and goals that we want to accomplish with this zoning code rewrite. And that 2 or 3 months held us up longer than we had hoped. At that point, we started working in subgroups, dividing downtown, waterfront, neighborhoods, some other different topics, to try to move the project along. And at that point, we started making some headway. In addition, at this point, we've rewritten the zoning map. We're right now going through criteria, changing uses, permissible uses, and what will prohibit from certain areas of the code. We're fine-tuning our definitions, and we've even incorporated some proposed code changes that will help us on the code enforcement side, in addition to the zoning code rewrite that we'll be proposing later this year. So also this Thursday we're going to sit down with Bergman, who's administering the county BOA. They will be doing some, we'll have to coordinate with them to work on our design guidelines, downtown design guidelines, in the next few weeks as they get moving on that. So a few things, different things made this take a little longer than we thought, but my recommendation is to keep pushing so we can see this comprehensive rewrite through. You have the proposed contract, which has a proposed timeline in it. My goal is to have this completed in 2U for adoption by the next construction season, so April, May at the latest is the goal, and I think we're going to get that done. Tim's here if you have any specific questions, and I've been involved in the process the entire time, so I can probably answer most of them.
Thank you. Questions from the council? One, the letter of engagement has a flat fee of $62,500, but the resolution is talking about $60,000.
Robert, that's correct. There's a letter that supersedes the letter you see there. It makes two things clear. Instead of 62.5 and 60, it also puts a cap at 60, so there's no more opportunity to do this, but to come back for a third contract. We'll be working on this until we're done with the project for 5 years. So it was like slightly above to the next day.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, can I have a motion? Councilor Hill? Councilor Berry?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesarero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Item number 6, Clerk's Office requests your review and consideration for 7 companies that have submitted applications and have deposited with the city clerk a required fee of $500 for a major hauler for the 2018 solid waste license. I think this is pretty straightforward, but does the clerk want to clarify some of this?
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, we have to do these licenses every year, and actually, it'll go up to 8 licenses because we did have another hauler come in today, pay his fees, submit his paperwork. So it'll be 8, not 7 on your resolution on Monday. Okay?
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesarero. Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Thank you. Item 7, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requests authorization for the city chamberlain to complete a budget amendment in the amount of $183,400 to be made to A.9950.0900 transfer to capital project 1663 for additional funding for the purchase of an EV fuel system. Mayor Barlow?
This project is the fuel dispensary system we have at the DPW that fuels up all city vehicles when they go over to the DPW and need fuel. This project has a long history. I actually have some work reports that were generated by the garage supervisor dating back to 2009 explaining that this project needed to happen then and was becoming more urgent every time he submitted a report. We actually just found these digging through files over the DPW, so I'm happy to make copies. He would provide these reports. The garage superintendent's no longer with the city, but he would provide these reports to the DPW commissioner at that time until eventually it was just falling on deaf ears, so we stopped producing these reports. These tanks, actually, after I won the election in the fall of 2015, during the transition when I was meeting with then Commissioner Smith, this was really the first thing he brought to me as something that we were going to have to deal with in the near future. At that point, I remember asking him how much and what the cost estimates were at that time. So when we went to do the 5-year capital plan the previous Common Council adopted, we adopted that plan, I want to say in April of 2016, one of the first few months of the new administration. We included $250,000 for this project, working off of the estimates that the DPW had on file there. And that item is in the 2017 column of the 5-year capital plan. The 250, I actually think he gave me the number of 220. We included 250. But that price didn't include installation, and the price has increased since whenever that quote was from. So that's why this additional budget amendment for $183,000 is needed in addition to the $250,000 that's budgeted in the capital plan. I want to speak to the $183,000 just to make it, because it isn't as bad as it looks. The $183,000, if you look at the 2017 city budget, between our garage accounts, which is the relevant account here, and a few other accounts related to the DPW, the function of the DPW, but not necessarily the garage account, we actually put in, at the end of the year, $115,000 back into the general fund that we didn't use, which was budgeted money. Those lines just came in under budget. So if you want to really get technical, we have $250,000 in the capital plan budgeted, allocated specifically for this. The difference is $183,000. Technically, the garage account put back into the general fund $115,000. So that should make us feel a little bit better. These tanks are inspected by the DEC every, I believe it's 5 years. Our next inspection is due in 2021, but the life of these tanks won't even last that long. So the recommendation is to get this project done. I'd prefer to get it done in the form of an amendment now, so we don't have to budget money in the 2019 city budget. And we really should get them done, be prepared to get them done in the spring when the weather's conducive to such a project.
Any questions?
Cooperative to such a project.
When we contract out certain projects, is this the only company that, I'm assuming that they do their own install?
Do they do the install, Tom? Do we know? Yes.
We reach out to other vendors?
Usually we just follow the purchasing procedures set out in the purchasing office. He came back and recommended this. I don't know if he had, it was a state bid, so that's what makes it, it simplifies the process on our end because it's a state bid. One part I left out, I just pulled the account on money spent on these tanks since, this is just since 2006. They've spent $53,000, $174 on basic repairs and maintenance to these tanks since 06, the last 10 years, 12 years.
Okay. Any other?
During the process of the work of the veterans now, any incurred costs to set up a the new system will be a different location, so we can see what's there, hopefully that can help for that. So we have
All right, any other comments, questions, concerns? the motion? Counselor Hill? Counselor Wilmot?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesarero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Item number 8. Fire Chief requests one new recruit to the New York State Fire Academy, Montour Falls, New York, May 10, 2018. Chief Griffin.
Hi there. Requesting permission to send somebody to the fire academy. We have a retiree who's going to retire at the end of February. This would give us just a week of training in-house, and then we can send them off to the academy. We're kind of at the whim of whoever hosts these academies, so that's a pretty efficient model to have just enough time to do a little bit of in-house training and then send them right off. Because up to this point, they wouldn't be any use to us. We'd have to wait for their training to be complete before we could count them as part of our staff. So,
Okay. Any questions for the Chief? Motion. Counselor DeMassey, Counselor Hill?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesarero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Item number 9, Nancy Stereo, Personnel Director, requests discussion regarding waiving of exam application fees for honorably discharged veterans.
Good evening, councilors. In late October, the governor signed legislation that all civil service exams that are state for New York, that they are holding, that the state is holding, if there is a veteran that applies, that fee be waived. The state civil service department forwarded that information to all the local agencies and said, we'd like you to consider it. However, there's no option for it to be a state waiver where we wouldn't have to pay the fee. The city would still be responsible to pay the fee for anyone that was a veteran. I spoke with the state, and the only requirement is that the person be a honorably discharged veteran. Now, to help kind of put this in perspective, several years ago, because we pay half of the fee we collect stays with the city and the other half goes to New York State to pay for their services. We set up a trust account several years ago and put that money into a trust account so that we had it, and we use it currently to pay for our monitors if we have to rent a larger hall to hold an exam. We use it to buy supplies and materials related to our civil service exam. So I asked and checked. We run somewhere between 10 to 15%, which is somewhere between $125 to maybe $200 that on our larger exams that we would have to take out of this trust account. I asked the city chamberlain the other day to tell me right now we have over $5,900. I do still have to pay for my state fees for 2017, but I'm always putting more money into it. So I think it's a good thing to do if we, you know, and I discussed it here, he is in support of this. We're obviously trying to reach out to the veterans in the community and give them an opportunity to take the test without having to charge a fee. They would just have to provide us with a copy of their DD 214 showing an honorable discharge.
Question in the back row? Yes, step right up. Microphone.
Now, the veterans are underneath a point program, too. Don't they get 5 points advantage here on other people?
Yes, they do. But
It's still 5 points, isn't it?
It depends
Thank you.
on the type of exam.
That's all I want to
that
know. Was it 5 points or not?
It
Look
would
at-
depend on the test. Sometimes they can get as much as 10.
I know the story, Nancy, okay? I've been around it since 1970.
Okay, I'm trying to answer.
That's right. You're fine. But anyway, Rob, here's my point, okay? I know on the city payroll that there's some there that aren't honorably discharged, okay? I can name them right here in front of you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass them poor fools. because we have relaxed our operation here in this country. But I do want to know this. Is a veteran from either war, any war, I don't care what war is, World War I even, getting the advantage over anybody else that's taking that test? I want to know if they're getting that privilege. Because I'll tell you what, they serve their country, and they deserve to have that opportunity more than anybody else in this room. Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
If you would like me to address
Yes,
that, I would
why
be
don't you?
happy so that the counselors understand what's going on. In addition to this section of civil service law, there is also military law, state and federal law. There are certain things, if a veteran is honorably discharged and meets other circumstances, they are entitled to different, they get additional points on test. They get additional time added to their seniority because of that service. We verify all of that whenever we hire someone that is a veteran.
Thank you. Clearing
You're
that up.
welcome.
All right, any other comments?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesoriero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
And we need a resolution.
Item number 10, Nancy Stereo, Personnel Director, requests discussion regarding adding certain DPW employees to the monthly car allowance allowed in the management collective bargaining agreement. Again?
Thank you. Under the collective bargaining agreement, there are certain department heads and supervisors that are giving a $50 a month car allowance. In reviewing the list recently, we discovered that we have a couple of supervisors in our DPW that were not included on the list. So I am asking at this time if we could add those on. And I do have the list. Unfortunately, I didn't think to make copies, but we would be adding the recreation maintenance supervisor and the waterfront supervisor. They are now using them as part of the 24/7 operation DPW. So that's why I'm asking for that for them. And according to the contract, the council has to approve it.
All right, well, with that said, any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Counselor
Counselor Corradino.
Yes, I guess.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesoriero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
And we need a resolution.
We need a resolution. I'm sure Nancy would love to create one. I believe that was the final item on the agenda. Are there any items that need to be discussed? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Counselor Corradino.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Tesoriero.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call the Fiscal Services Committee meeting for January 16, 2018 to order. Please call the roll.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozek. Absent.
Could I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 2nd, 2018 committee meeting? And we don't have a member second.
Right.
We don't have a member second. We only have 3 on the committee. Oh, no, 4.
There's-
Okay. So we have to use the same 2. Perfect. Yep, we're good.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot. Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Is there any old business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Under authorizations, item number 1, the Community Development Office has received a request from the Oswego City County Youth Bureau to host a snowman building contest in Franklin Square Park on Saturday, February 24th, 2018, from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Is anyone here to speak on this? Jen?
Depending on the weather, depending on the snow. It's not going to cost the city one dime. We have judges, we have donations coming in, people offering prizes, and it's just more or less a family event to get the kids something to do. Depending on the snow.
Anyone have any questions? Take a motion, please.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot?
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey?
Yes. Item number 2, Thomas Kells, DPW Commissioner, received a request from the Sea Cadets for use of the McRobey Building in 2018 for training drills. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Roth could not attend the meeting. However, I did have the chance to speak with him concerning the request, as I had several concerns, and I was unclear on the nature and extent of the use that was being requested. Mr. Roth stated that the Sea Cadets are requesting use of a classroom, storeroom, office, and the main hall in the facility. I requested information concerning the status of rooms within the building that are currently padlocked and were used for sleeping, which is no longer permitted, and was really never authorized or permitted. I was assured by Mr. Roth that the padlocks would be removed and the rooms would be cleared of air mattresses and other items so they can be available for general use. The group is requesting use of the building. His preliminary estimates were from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. on drill days. I expressed concern over scheduling conflicts with the Oswego Music Hall, which also uses the space, and Mr. Roth stated that he schedules drill around the music hall's use of the building. Mr. Roth stated there will be approximately 30 children in attendance at each drill session under the supervision of approximately 10 to 12 adults. There are currently 2 people with access to the building, Mr. Roth and his second in command, and he states there are just 2 keys. He expresses assurance there will be no unauthorized access to the building, and Commissioner Kells informed me that there's a standard $97.50 per hour fee for use of the McRobey Building on weekends, and that covers the expense of personnel who staff the building. Obviously, if the Sea Cadets use the building for their requested hours, that fee would amount to over $1,200 per day of drill that they requested. And after speaking with Mr. Roth, that would make use of the building impossible for the group. I spoke with Commissioner Kells, and he expressed concern over safety of the children and protection of city property, as there have been occurrences in the past with this group which had previously used the building without city personnel on site. Prior to actually looking at this request, the group had received a waiver and no city staff was on site to supervise or to make sure that the site was being used safely and that there was at least a reasonable attempt to keep the children safe and protect the city's property. So what I'd like to do is get the council's opinion on this request, what the feeling is on the fee for the group and any other issues. We have some options here. We have the option to deny the request. We have the option to approve the request that includes the fee, which would require the group to kind of shore up their requested hours. I assume if they're able to cover the fee, they would kind of bring those hours down to maybe 2 or 3 hours on the drill day rather than requesting use of the building for 13 hours. We can also approve with conditions that if they don't meet some of the things that they stated out to me, that we can revoke their ability to use the building. So I'm open to comments, suggestions, recommendations. Let me clarify it. Sorry, $97.50 per hour? Per hour. And that covers the overtime expense related to calling in someone with a minimum of 3 hours. Correct.
That's what we charge anybody else.
Correct. With the exception, I found out of groups that already pay rent for the building. So if they already rent the building, then they have access, obviously, to the most.
And what was the reason in the past that we waived the fee?
Because city staff was not present.
Now we would put them on because of the safety of the kids and so on.
Because of some of the issues, this was conveyed to me by several city employees, commissioners, and department heads, who stated that some of the events in the past have led the city to want to have personnel on staff just to ensure the safety of the children and protection of the city's property building itself.
Such a good cause.
Right. The Sea Cadets are a federally chartered nonprofit group that are affiliated with the Navy. It allows young people the ability to enter the armed forces at a higher rank. It's a well-regarded program, so the issue isn't necessarily with the program itself. It's with the safety of the children in a city building that may need some supervision to ensure that is carried out. hate to take it away from them. It puts us in a very difficult position.
Could we possibly suggest, I mean, we have, I know I would take a shift, periodically stop in during those days and see if they're sticking to their 12 people, 12 adults there, and what's going on and all that, so we wouldn't have to do that.
I think managing that would be very difficult.
Hard to,
Counselor?
Commissioner Kelsey?
There's also the issue of the entryways as far as unlocking, shoveling this time of year, making sure there's rock salt down for safety issues. So as gracious as that is, I just want to inform you of what you're in for.
Okay.
So,
that wouldn't be done on those days.
no? That's correct. Yes.
Correct. My thought is that that would require them to reduce the number of hours requested if they're able to pay that. Again, it's my understanding that any group, including nonprofits, that use the building on the weekends do pay that hourly.
I have to say that fair is fair. I understand the nature of this group. My opinion is they do, but I don't know how in North Fox other groups running the same conditions. And strictly a liability standpoint, that's a historic building. The safety of the building itself and the children. They may have to look at other avenues.
I will add that from a liability perspective, they do carry a liability policy. They provide to us every year. So that.
How many years have they been using?
I am
25,
not,
30.
it's been a long time.
That long?
Yes, they've been around a long, long time.
Do we know what kind of damage, what it's cost the city for damage they've done in the
I
past?
requested a dollar estimate, but was unable to get anything. Commissioner, do you have any idea of the dollar value of that?
No, I do not.
Just a second. They've been down there for a long time, and I don't need to mention the names historical names that used to run that show down there. Fred Crisafulli, George Hoffman, but they've run a good show down there. And I never heard anybody complain about the way they were running their show down there. Those kids are just marching around, having a great time. It's like the Boy Scouts, okay? They don't harm anything. They're fine. And they'll pay the bill, too, by the way. They got the cash. Thank you for letting me say that. They got the money.
I'm getting the sense that you'd like to, we can entertain the idea of approving the request with the requirement that they do pay the hourly fee for use of the building. So we can, when the resolution is presented, we can include that as part of the resolution. So, yeah, let's take a vote to move that. Council, can I have a motion? Second?
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot. Counselor DeMassey.
Yes. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot. Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.